Welcome to my next Lost. Season 4 episode review video. Before I get into that though, pretty important, if you aren't caught up to the point where I am every watch, you're watching Lost, or you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention, as well as put in the description. If that happens to be the case, if you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this detailed review any further to avoid any potential spoilers. And full disclosure, I've already seen the TV series Lost 3 other times. It's one of my favorite TV series of all time. As a matter of fact, just rewatching it to let it resonate. But I'm not the only one that's currently watching Lost. The legendary Crazy Coffee Man is actually watching Lost for the first time. You've seen him in my comment section for Dexter, Dexter Original Sin, Dexter New Blood, Breaking Bad, Lucifer, some physical media related videos, and probably soon to be Dexter Resurrection. So join us on the journey and let's discuss this awesome and amazing show in my comment section. However, I don't want to see any spoilers past this episode. So with all that said, this will be Lost, Season 4, Episode 12. The title of this episode is called There's No Place Like Home, Part 1. And this will be my review, reaction, recap after just finishing watching the episode. And a heads up, the next episode I'm going to combine the two episodes, Part 2 and Part 3, Episodes 13 and 14, because they did air on the same day when they came out. So just to give you a heads up, 2 and 3 will be in the next review. We start off with a flash forward. Two pilots are at the helm of a transport plane. The pilot chastises the co-pilot for clinging to his lucky charm, a rabbit's foot. The co-pilot says he has to be extra vigilant considering the cargo that they are carrying. Karen Decker, a Oceanic Airlines representative, is strapped into a jump seat immediately behind the pilots. The pilots tell Decker they're approaching the runway. The Oceanic 6 are aboard a U.S. Coast Guard transport aircraft en route to a military facility just west of Honolulu, Hawaii. Decker tells them that their families are waiting for them and they don't have to speak to the press. Jack insists that they're all right with speaking to the press. The woman leaves and Jack tells the rest of the 6 to stick to the story, and if they don't have an answer to a question, just stay or keep their mouths shut and the press will assume that they're in shock. Sun replies that they are in shock, to which Jack replies, then this should be easy. The 6 exit the back of the transport. Carmen and David Reyes, Mr. and Mrs. Pike. I'm not exactly sure how to say Sun's maiden name. I've heard it said different pronunciations of it, so if I'm saying it wrong, I do apologize. Margot Shepard, Jack's sister, are all waiting for them. The three families are overjoyed to see each other. Saeed and Kate have no one greeting them. Hugo jumps back after hugging his mom, hello, and introduces Saeed, who gets the full family hug treatment. As the remainder of the 6 greet up with their families, Kate just holds on tight to baby Aaron and looks around alone. The survivors are busy discussing what to do following the discovery of the satellite. We're back to the island now. The discovery of the satellite phone dropped from the helicopter. Jack hands the satellite phone to Daniel Faraday, and Daniel enters a code that activates monitor-only mode, allowing them to listen to a conversation on the helicopter. They hear Kimi speaking to Frank Lapidus. Kimi orders Frank Lapidus to land the helicopter, and Frank Lapidus informs them that they are still 5 clicks out, but Kimi demands that they land, and Kimi tells his men, so as we hit the ground, we deploy to the Orchid. Jack is determined to follow the helicopter because he thinks it is their ticket to rescue. Against the wishes of Juliet, who wants Jack to rest after his appendectomy. Jack asks Kate if she wants to track the helicopter. Jack and Kate run into the jungle after the signal of the phone. Daniel Faraday searches through his journal for a page containing information about the Orchid and warns Charlotte that Kimi and his men are using the secondary protocol and they must leave the island immediately. Kate notices Jack's wound is bleeding, but he insists that that is normal as a part of the recovery phase. Kate states that she knows when other people are lying because they look away from her, but Jack does exactly the opposite. Suddenly, a noise is heard in the jungle, and both of them draw their weapons. It's Miles. He comes out of the bush, followed by Sawyer carrying Aaron. Sawyer calls Miles Genghis, and Kate and Sawyer exchange uneasy stares before Kate asks where Claire is. Sawyer replies that they lost her in the jungle, and even after a day's search, they could not find her. He informs them that the barracks were attacked by the people from the freighter. Jack wishes to continue into the jungle and tells Kate to take care of the baby and head back to the beach with Miles. Hesitantly, Sawyer catches up to Jack to help him, as he says he doesn't get to die alone. Back to our flash forward, Oceanic Airlines holds a press conference with the Oceanic Six. Karen Decker presents a fabricated story of how the Oceanic Six survived, based on the already found stage wreckage of Flight 815 at the bottom of the Sunda Trench in the Indian Ocean. According to the story, the survivors were carried by the ocean's current after the crash to the uninhabited island of Minbata, where they survived for 108 days. On the 103rd day, a typhoon washed up the remnants of an Indonesian fishing boat, including a survival raft, on which they traveled to the Indonesian island of Sumba to find rescue. The Six then take questions from the press. Jack is asked by a reporter what it was like when the plane hit the water, and he responds by saying that it all happened very fast. He claims he and a few others made it to one of the doors and got out of the plane and stayed afloat using the life jackets and seat cushions until the tide brought them ashore. By that point, he claims there were only 8 of them left. And there's another thing that they did. I can't remember how it was aired, but maybe it was like a special thing where they talked about the other 3 people were Charlie, Libby, and Boone. But they don't say it in this episode. It was like an extra somewhere. And then one reporter suggests that for having been trapped on an island for the amount of time that they look to be in remarkable health. Hurley asks if that question is directed at him. The same reporter then asks Hurley what it will be like to get his money back. He says that he doesn't want it because the money brought bad luck. Another reporter asks Sun in a question in Korean. One of the news reporters calls out for a translation, and Sun translates the question whether Jin was one of the passengers who made it out of the plane. She responds, no, he died in the crash. What happened to Jin is the question. Kate is asked what it was like giving birth to Aaron on the island, to which she replies that it was scary. At the time of the press conference, Aaron should be almost 5 weeks old. The reporter follows by challenging her version of the timeline, knowing that she would have been 6 months pregnant when she was apprehended in Australia. Decker hastily cuts off this line of questioning and explains that Kate's legal issue is off the table. When asked about the possibility that other survivors might be found, Saeed replies, no, absolutely not. After the press conference, Karen tells Saeed that there's a woman outside who claims to know him, Noor Abdid Jazam, a.k.a. Nadia. He heads outside where he does see Nadia, and then they embrace. So Naeed's love, Nadia, not his island love, but Nadia is back. Saeed back at the island. Saeed arrives at the beach and offers to ferry people 6 at a time back to the freighter. Ben leads John Locke and Hurley through the jungle. He explains that if, as Christian told Locke, they need to move the island, then there's only one place to do that, the Orchid Station. Hurley asked Ben why he did not move the island before the mercenaries arrived. Ben replied because doing it is both dangerous and unpredictable. It's a measure of last resort. Ben stops at a rock formation and pulls out a hidden case. Inside are binoculars, a signaling mirror, and a Dharma Initiative cracker tin with the Swan logo on it. Locke gives the tin to Hurley, who opens it up and starts eating the crackers that are inside. I mean, I would eat them too, but Hurley will eat anything. Locke gives the tin to, or I already said that, after telling Hurley that the crackers are 15 years old. Ben uses the mirrors to reflect light in order to signal something to someone on a cliff nearby. The person on the cliff responds with more reflected light. Kate comes out of the jungle with Aaron and tells Sayid what happened with the helicopter and the sat phone. Sayid wants to run off after Jack and Sawyer to warn them about the freighter mercenaries. Daniel Faraday offers to ferry people to the freighter in his place. Juliet says that Sun is pregnant, so she should leave first. Kate wants to go with Sayid to help track Jack and Sawyer, so she gives Aaron to Sun. Sayid and Kate head off into the jungle, and Daniel takes Sun, Jin, Aaron, and 3 other survivors in the Zodiac, which is the little raft that they have to get to the freighter. Back to our flash forward. Sun goes to her father's office. When she arrives, 2 men are there explaining about the upsetting incident involving 5 different banks. He sends them away. Sun asks if there's anything wrong, and Mr. Pike, it's hard to say. It's not Pike, even though they say that in one episode, well, multiple episodes, it's something different. Replies that it's company business and she wouldn't understand. She then accuses him of having hated Jin, and tells her father that she considers him to be the one of the 2 people responsible for his death. She reveals that Oceanic Airlines has given her a significant settlement, which she has used to purchase a controlling interest in Pike Industries. She then tells her father that once she has her baby, she intends to discuss her plans for the company's new direction. Back to our flash forward. Hurley is shown walking through his house, which appears empty. However, he is startled when he sees a coconut on the ground and begins to hear whispers. He picks up a small statue of Jesus Christ to use as a weapon and slowly moves toward the voices. As he opens the door, whispers are revealed to be a large group of friends and family surprising him with a birthday party. His mother scolds him for contemplating using the statue as a weapon. At the party, Sayid, Nadia, Kate, and Aaron are present. Kate mentions that Jack is running late. Hurley's father takes him aside to show him his birthday present, which is the Camaro they had worked on previously before the island. He mentions that once he thought Hurley was dead, he began finishing work on the car as a tribute to his son. He gives Hurley the keys, which are on a rabbit foot keychain. Hurley and his father sit inside to take it for a drive, but Hurley immediately notices the numbers are in the car's odometer and trip counter. Hurley exits the car and is seen running down the street away from the Camaro in fear because of the numbers. Daniel Faraday arrives on the raft with Jin's son, Aaron, and 3 other survivors. Desmond helps them aboard, and Daniel heads back to get more people to the ferry. Michael arrives and informs Desmond that the engines are fixed. Desmond leaves. Desmond has Hendricks, who acts as a helmsman, try the engine, which works. However, they can't move closer to the island because of some RF interference, which prevents them from being able to see the reef, and that the RF interference is coming from the boat. Desmond says he'll find the source and shut it off. Jack and Sawyer follow the signal on the satellite phone until they reach the helicopter, where they find Frank Lapidus is handcuffed to the aircraft. Sawyer is uneasy about approaching Frank Lapidus, but Jack assures him that Frank Lapidus is trustworthy. The 2 proceed to find a way to uncuff Frank Lapidus, who promises to fly them off the island as soon as they do. He lets them know that with the mercenaries on the island, it is the last place they want to be, and that the freighter is the safest place. He says that the men are at the Orchid station waiting to capture Benjamin Linus and do terrible things to whomever is with him. Sawyer realizes that Hurley is with Ben. To Jack's frustration, they decide that they cannot leave yet. So Sawyer actually is stepping up, like showing feelings for the people that he's kind of rejected for the last 3 seasons of Lost. But now, like, he can't leave Hugo behind. Otherwise, who's he going to call random nicknames to? Like Stay Puff and whatever random nickname he has. Back to our flashback. Jack delivers a eulogy at his father's memorial service. He expresses remorse over not having his body present, saying he loved his father. After the ceremony, Carol Littleton approaches him and she explains her story, revealing to be to Jack that Claire, whom he believes he never met, was his half sister. Who she believes that Jack never met was his half sister, and was also on the plane. So Jack is obviously shaken at the news, and then Carol approaches Kate, complimenting Aaron, unaware that he is her grandson. Jen and Sun are talking to Michael, who explains his situation. Sun is surprised to see him working for Ben, and he replies that he's not working for Ben. He's trying to atone for what he did. Desmond bursts out of the ship, calling Michael for help. Michael, Jin, and Sun, carrying Aaron, follow him and leads them to a room full of explosives. Jin tells Sun to leave, and she heads above deck. Kate and Saeed are tracking Jack and Sawyer's footprints. Kate notices a different set of fresh tracks that have doubled back on them, and Saeed calls for whomever is following them to reveal themselves. Richard Alpert emerges from the jungle, and Kate and Saeed draw their guns and tell Richard to stand down. He asks them to calm down and continues moving towards them until a large group of others come out of the bush and aim rifles at the pair. Richard disarms them. Locke, Hurley, and Ben reach the Orchid Station, only to find that Kimi's team have already made it. First, Ben gives Locke very specific instructions on what to do once inside the station, which involves finding a secret elevator to the real station, hands him his telescopic baton, and then walks out into the open where Kimi's team can see him. Kimi comes out, and Ben, who says, "My name is Benjamin Linus, and I believe you're looking for me," and surrenders to him. Kimi holds a gun to Ben's head for a second before hitting him with it instead. And that's what ends this episode of Lost. So really good episode. I'm going to give the episode an 8.6 out of 10. It's hard to choose a character of the episode because the episode is so focused on everybody. But if I had to choose, gun to my head, I would pick Benjamin Linus because he's so important at the end of this season of Lost. And remember, I'll be doing my next review, Part 2 and Part 3, episodes 13 and 14. But I'm going to give it an 8.6 out of 10. Ben, again, is my character of the episode. And we do have the reveal in this episode that Claire's mom survived. Remember, she was essentially in a coma at one point. She survived. So that's all I have to say about this episode. If you're a fan of Lost and you want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, please make sure that you Hulk smash the like button, share this video with a friend, put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section about what your thoughts are on this episode of Lost. What would you rate it, and who would be your character of the episode? Anything else that you want to add? No spoilers past this episode. And then last but certainly not least, well, actually, I should mention you'll be interacting with me and the legendary Crazy Coffee Man. And then last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button. You're watching the video anyway. Subscribe to the channel. Help me get over 100,000 subscribers. Join the team at Show Your Damn Support and be a part of something special. And you never know what you're going to see on JDev TV.